Hey music community, Jeff here again, and this time around I wanted to do this video real quick for some items that just came in just recently. These are some CDs. Now I have talked about this particular label. There are a lot of labels that put out a lot of this great stuff, but there's one label that has been near and dear to me that puts out a lot of the bands of yesteryear who have never really seen the light of day, or maybe limited releases. A lot of stuff from the late 80s, early 90s, that little sweet spot when music was changing, but there were tons of bands out there that were still putting out prime melodic and or just, sleazy type metal, just that sweet spot of music, but they went, under the radar because things were changing. And this label has been putting out a lot of those type of bands, and they've done it again. I have been behind. They put out usually 2 CDs seems like every couple months, a couple times a year. They put out, it tends to be 2 at a time, and I was lax in catching the last 2 of the end of the year, and then 2 that came out recently. But I caught up, and they had a sale recently, so I grabbed these, and I have to say, was not at all let down by this batch of releases. Now, it is different. So I'm talking about Ionian Records. Ionian Records I've talked about before. I get stuff from them all the time that I just absolutely love. And they have samples online. You can hear all these bands online. They always have samples on their YouTube channel that you can check out. And every time I check out the samples, I'm like, yeah, I'm buying that. So, I mean, they have just uncovered lots and lots of bands that never saw the light of day in a lot of cases. Now, in this batch, I've kind of, what I like to do when I go through and put these into my music, when I rip them to my computer, I always try to date them based on the date of the release of the music. So, if these bands recorded these musics, these songs were recorded in 1989, I'll date it that, just so I have a chronological idea. But I glanced at all of the booklets in here, and I didn't really get a clear cut. It didn't have like, this is from the 92 demo, whatever. They didn't have that, and I didn't see where these were recorded in blah, 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 Tennessee in 1990, whatever. So I didn't see a lot of that. I need to read the liner notes a little more detailed. But the first one is the only one that clearly said these songs have been around for years. They've been on my hard drive. I'm glad to see that we're finally getting them released. It doesn't say how long the years were, but I'm going to tell you right now, I've listened to all of them, and while all of them on one way or the other are superb in their own means, this one has been kind of the highlight. And Rufus Fountain, or Rufu, I guess is I saw it abbreviated, but Rufus Fountain. Again, these are obviously songs that have been recorded at various times over various places over the years. But I'm telling you, I mean, only one of the songs is kind of, you can tell the quality is a little different. But I'm listening to them in the car on at full volume, and they all sounded great. Now, the one song that sounded different, and probably what I would call the weakest track on the album, in my opinion, is they do a cover of Whole Lotta Rosie. Is it because the song has been overdone, or it just sounded like, the vocals were a different style than the rest of the album, it seemed like, and that just didn't click with me as much. But the whole rest of the album, you need to check this album out. Obviously, I don't think the band is still together, so it's probably one and done. It's a lot of a lot of demo type tracks that sound superb. But check this one out. Go listen to the samples. This just track after track. I'll tell you what's interesting about this, and this is why it really resonated with me. The vocalist, though his voice is higher pitched, a little higher pitched, the cadence of his vocals, the way that he sang, at times some of the way that the word, just the way that the cadence of his voice was, and the way he sang and approached the music, reminded me a lot of Blackie Lawless. Again, higher range, didn't sound like Blackie Lawless, but the way he sang, the way his words flowed out, very Blackie Lawless. And I'm talking Blackie Lawless mostly from the past 20 years, the past handful of albums, not 80s stuff, but the way his singing style has been. So anyway, maybe it resonated with me because it just screamed Wasp. I'm not saying the music sounds like that or whatever, but it just reminded me of that. The way he sang, some of the way that the words tailed off, I'm like, that's just Blackie Lawless with a slightly higher pitch. Just heavy hard rock and good stuff. Check it out. Just go on YouTube and look up Rufus Fountain. Check out the samples, see what you think. The other one There's four. Rockstar. I would say they're just Rockstar. Yeah. Plain and simple. Okay, so this one's a tad bit more on the commercial side in the sense that there are keyboards sprinkled throughout it. It's heavy. A lot of this reminds me of like Mass, the band from Massachusetts, Mass. Just he's got that beautiful melodic voice, and then the music is hard enough and heavy enough. I don't want to throw out Bon Jovi, but it had it kind of, think the heaviest song by Bon Jovi, and then add a little oomph to it, and that's what I feel like Rockstar felt like to me. Mass mixed with the commerciality of Bon Jovi, but not the real pop sensibilities at times. Think, heavier Bon Jovi and heavier Mass, but that kind of style with, some keyboards in there it's very tastefully done. This one stood out as just sounding amazing. Check it out. Samples online. You got to check that out too. Bloody Dice. This one, it's just simple looking, and it's just really that hard rockin' feel. Just great stuff. This one I think was one of the first ones I listened to, and immediately I'm like, this is just great stuff. And then I have been listening to the others. I should have showed the others. I mean, they're all all well done. They're all CDs. They're not CDRs. They got pictures and details, and it's all the same stuff that Aeonian does. Photos and notes, stories from the band, etc. They have whatever they can get in there. Anyway, check out the samples for this one. Again, just solid hard rock, borderline metal. I kind of get the impression that, like I say, some of these bands may be actually fairly new. I do need to read up on them a little more. So these might still be active. I need to really read up on them, which is different because, like I said, a lot of things he releases are bands from yesteryear. They're just old material. Some of these, it seems like, might be new. And then the last one is Bulletproof. This was, I think, the second one or first one. I listened to a couple tracks from them. I think this might have been the second one I listened to. Higher range vocals, very much, and they even say in here that they're influenced by AC/DC and Cinderella. I hear that. I hear the higher range Cinderella stuff, first album type stuff. The vocals are higher range, squeakier, higher, how to describe it. So yeah, very much has that flair of an 80s feel that you would expect from those days of just a higher range. I can't even think of another band to describe it. It's not quite as, I'm talking like more Bon Scott era AC/DC, but it's simple hard rock. Vocalists are, I don't want to say he's falsetto, but he's singing up there. He's got that higher voice. And so, yeah, I mean, just some solid stuff. And again, I want to look at more details just to kind of figure out, are any of these bands like current, or are these all just archives of band stuff? But anyway, check it out. Aeonian Records. I talk about them all the time because I buy everything they put out because I've never had any problem, never been unsatisfied with the release. I still have at least 4 or 5 of the past Aeonian records in my car that I just, Hail Mary, Jones Street, some of those from the last batches. Misery, both Misery releases, just the kill. These bands are they're just resonating with me because, again, that's that era of music where, things were changing, but it's just great. I mean, they are just top-notch stuff. I'm just glad to see some of these bands resurrected. And like I said, there's other labels that do this. Demon Doll Records does it. I'm always getting stuff from them. And they do have a lot of modern bands that are putting out. But a lot of the sleaze metal, a lot of the stuff like that. So there's a lot of the stuff that's, being resurrected and or still existing out there. But I've never yet been in any way dissatisfied with an Aeonian Records release. And I think I have them all, except maybe 2 of the earlier releases from years ago that went out of print. Great stuff. Check it out, Aeonian Records. You got to go get some of the stuff. Check out videos. They got video samples for all of this. You just need to check it out, see if you like it, and then order you a copy too. And I will see you later on another one. Rock on and rock hard.